I've been asked this question a number of times, and I don't know if I've been publicly asked it, so I'm just gonna throw it out there for you guys, and I'm gonna answer it. But I've been asked, what happens to Conor after this fight with Khabib? All you can do is guess, and whenever you're guessing, all you can do is follow the golden rule of putting yourself in somebody else's shoes. That one always seems to strike out with me because my approach to this sport, as much as I want other people to have it, and as much as I preach it to other people, I find that I'm a little bit alone. And I come into this as just a pure competitor of anyone, anywhere, anytime, but not from the point of bravado of I'm not scared of anyone and I'll do it. From the standpoint of this is what we do. This is what we train for every day. So whenever you have a chance to compete, and the older you get in life, when you're in grade school, it's very easy to compete. You can do it right there at your school. Right, that bell, that last period bell goes off. You can hit the locker room, change, go up to the field. Depending on the month, you got a sport to do. You go soccer. I mean, my high school, we had golf teams. We had ski teams at my high school. We had tennis teams. Do you guys have that? I felt like we were lucky to have that. Did you guys have that in high school? We had tennis courts right at my high school. We had everything you could do at my high school except a swimming pool. And we still had a swimming team. They just had to get on a bus and go to somebody else's pool. We had every opportunity you could think of, though. You get into college, it becomes a lot more reduced. Very rare that you get to do something after high school. Very, very rare. I mean, there's a percentage on that. I believe it's 3%. Then if you want to do something, it's either like an intramural situation or it's a neighborhood softball team. It's some kind of, you got to organize it on your own as an adult, right? I mean, games are for kids. We get that. So it's just really rare as an adult, particularly in the sports that I know how to play. I don't know how to golf. I don't know how to play tennis. I don't know where to go compete at swimming. I've told you I would be great at swimming. You guys would be blown away. But I don't know where to do it at. So if there's a wrestling match or a submission tournament or a fist fight going on, and those are the sports that I practice, I do want to go out and compete in them. So I don't know that I can follow the golden rule on what is Conor going to do next, but I'm happy to go down both trails because there is two different trails. One is a victory and one is a defeat. Should Conor lose to Khabib? Look, what is Conor's motivation? That's also a tough one for me to relate to, for all of us to relate to. Conor has plenty of other opportunities. And he's not just a guy, I must add this because it's relevant to the story, he's not just a guy that made a ton of money in his space. How many people in the NBA, how many NFL players go BK? How many fighters do we hear about from Holyfield to Tyson? I mean, the hugest names with the hugest purses ever that go BK. Bankrupt, right? We see it happen all the time, but when that revenue source stops and you get used to spending the money you have in your pocket, you get used to making the biggest financial mistake that you can make for anybody, not just a guy that had a bunch of money or even a guy that's trying to have a bunch of money. If you buy things that cost money to own, you have made the biggest financial mistake that you can. I would put that in front of, Chael Sonnen financial advice, I would put that in front of not investing. I think it's very important to invest, but people will tell you that's the greatest thing you can do with your money. I would put not buying things that cost money to own in front of that. Conor McGregor is simply not one of those guys because he is so youthful and he has transferred the mainstream. He's transcended the mainstream. He does have movie and television opportunities in front of him. I don't know if that's what he wants to do. He doesn't have to do it, but those are options that he has. He does have brand endorsement. He has a very unique look. He has a very unique ability to communicate something in an entertaining fashion, a compelling fashion that makes you stop what you're doing and turn your head and watch. Well, what more do brands want than that? They want attention. Conor brings attention. And he's youthful. He's going to be relevant for a long time, even if he's not fighting. Won't be as relevant, but he'll still be relevant. He's got his hand in some whiskey thing. He's got sponsorships and endorsements. He's just got a lot of things going on. So what I'm offering to you is, why is he fighting? I believe I know the answer. I believe he is a competitor. I believe he is somebody that has dreams and a skill set and is willing to work hard, and he hasn't lost sight of that in spite of the fame and the prizes that have come along with it. I believe I'm right on that. Let's say he beats Khabib. I can all but assure you he fights again if he beats Khabib. And I do believe, and I'll make my point in a moment, but that it starts with a victory. And that is, of course, I'm talking about Floyd. I'm talking about Conor versus Floyd Part 2. I do not believe that that fight works if he comes off of a loss. I just don't. I don't think he gets to go, hey, Floyd, I gave you a great fight, and I only trained for it for 7 months, and let's build a story around a storyline about you being even older now and me having even more experience now if he comes off of a loss. I don't think so. Even though he would in large part be right that people would still want to see that fight, it wouldn't be as many people. And I don't think you get promoters to come to the table and meet the needs of those fighters, which is a guarantee on top of back-end business. An upfront guarantee. I just don't think you're going to find the right gambler out there to take that with a loss. So should he beat Khabib, I'm not ready to make a prediction on does he come back and do any MMA again. This guy, may be wanting to fight until he runs out of rope. We won't know. And regardless of what he tells us, we still won't know. One, he could be swerving us, but most likely he does not know the answer to that. Not very many human beings that know anything that they're going to be doing tomorrow. They may have a guess and a hope and a desire, but things can change very rapidly, particularly in this field. So I do not know that I could assure you that if he beat Khabib, he would come back and fight anymore. I don't know. They would have to bring him some kind of a prize that really, really made him look twice. I would think. And the only prize out there to do that in this landscape, and the landscape changes fast. Look, we didn't want to see Conor versus Khabib 2 years ago, guys. We didn't even want to see it 12 months ago. This is a new phenomenon. Even when there started to be the dialogue that this was going to happen, many of you, and myself included, thought, it's just not a big enough fight to get Conor back out. And then all of a sudden, the bus incident happened. And all of a sudden, Tony Ferguson gets stripped and Khabib fights Al for the title. Excuse me. And Khabib leaves with the world championship and a perfectly intact 26-0 record. All of a sudden, what a difference a day makes. So I do admit that we always have the right to change our opinion when we're confronted with new evidence. And new evidence in this sport comes really fast. But to finish the thought with the current landscape, the only person that would satisfy all of the things that Conor would need, in my assessment, would be George St-Pierre. I'm saying if he beats Khabib. And I'm saying for mixed martial arts. If Conor beats Khabib, you are very quickly going to see a new round of promotion by Conor and Floyd. And they will probably go about making that fight happen exactly like they did the first one, themselves. They went totally out of order. It wasn't the promoter going to them and then going to the media and trying to put all the pieces together. It was the two athletes coming together, going to the media, going to the fans, and the promoter was the last one to the table. And I can assure you Dana is not in some big hurry to go and remake that fight. But he could be compelled to do so if the two fighters do it the way they did the first one. And they will. And you will see this very quickly. Conor and Khabib are going to fight on October 6th. You'll see a little bit as soon as October 7th. Floyd Mayweather will make a comment. But Conor may not fire back. He may take a breath. He may take a beat or two. Wait till Floyd's comments goes away. But then he will come back. And it will be Conor versus Floyd again by summer of 2019. That is with a win. That is a prediction by me. But I am certain that it's also an accurate statement by me. I'm certain. Now let's look at if he loses. What does he do then? Not very many guys want to go out with a loss. At the same time, does Conor want to just come back and fight? And if he does, why? Why does he want to do it? Is it for the money? Is it for the attention? Those are commodities he can't get anywhere else, at least not in as large of forms. So yeah, it could be. Does he want another shot at Khabib? Does he want to climb that ladder? Does he want to just go out there one more time in a big mega fight? Because you've always got Nate Diaz waiting there. That fight is still going to work. So there's plenty of things that will work and that Conor could still do even with a loss. I mean, without quite huge things. He'd be huge business. Conor could go out and get his ass kicked by Khabib, wake up the next morning, he's still the biggest draw in the company. Khabib and other people are falsely under the impression, this isn't a knock on them at all, I just see this a lot, that if I go in and beat Conor, I take Conor's shine. Does not work that way. Absolutely, positively, no matter how many fighters think that it works that way, it does not work that way. The only thing that you can leave with is a little more prize money, a little ego have added, and in this case, a championship belt. Khabib, with a victory over Conor, does help Khabib's own stock, but he does not then trade places with Conor. And Conor, as much as his stock goes down, it can go down a remarkable amount. He's still the biggest draw in the business. In the company. So those are the realities. So he's still in a very good spot for what he wants to do if he wants to do it. And it takes a lot of passion to do this sport. It's very, very difficult, and it's not a tremendously fun life. You are locked at home for most of the time because when you're not training, you are trying to recover. It can be a little bit boring. It can be very hard. You're sore and tired and stressed nonstop. It can just be a very tough life, which can be a very great and rewarding life if you want it to be, if that is what you want to do. If you like being in the gym and being at home and feeling sore and tired, it can be a wonderful thing. I happen to like those things, as weird as they may sound. I happen to like those things. Conor may happen to like those things. But I do think that his career as a whole would be up in the air a little bit, and I do believe that his long-term and his short-term plan are the same, which is a rematch with Floyd Mayweather. I just don't believe that that rematch works unless he comes off of a win. I think you guys would agree with me. I think there is that piece of the story that we need. That the invincible Conor McGregor finally had the armor dented by Floyd Mayweather. But he also only had 8 months to prepare for a guy who had been doing his whole life. I just think that it's interesting. I think that it's very sellable. I think that it works. And I think those two athletes are going to demand and force and shove it down your throat and up your ass until they make it work a second time. But I do believe that Conor is going to have drastically different paths based on the outcome of the fight. And if I had to make a prediction now, I will make it on with a win. He is going to fight Floyd Mayweather in summer of 2019. I'm calling it a prediction. I'm going to leave it at that, but boy, I'm close to telling you guys I'm reporting it. I'm close to telling you that's exactly what's going to happen. I won't quite cross that line. I'll keep it at prediction, but boy, I'm close, if you get my hint. The other side of it is with a loss, I don't know what he does. Not a lot of fighters like to go out with a loss. However, all fighters, aside from George St-Pierre and Lennox Lewis, do go out with losses. They just stick around too long. Every now and then you will have a Spinks. I mean, you guys remember Spinks versus Tyson. Was that 89? 90? What year was that? Biggest fight of all time when it happened. Lasted 93 seconds. Mike Tyson put the undefeated Spinks away. Michael Spinks. Put him away. Spinks was never seen again or heard of again. And I don't think there's a damn thing wrong with it. I thought it was a cool thing to do. He went out there. He knew when his toast was burnt. He called it a career. So you do see those kinds of things happen, but it does offer some speculation. And then you've also got, I must include, you do have one more piece of this that we didn't discuss, which is what kind of a fight is it with Khabib? If it's an absolutely incredible fight, if it's not just Khabib taking him down and pounding him, and I mean, that's how Conor loses. That's why I offer that. If Conor wins, it's because he knocks him on his feet, or at least that's what we all close our eyes and imagine. It's a really good contest. If we're throwing options on the table, we must throw the option of the rematch on the table. We see that a lot, particularly when the big star is brought down. The promoters are generally just drawn to say, okay, we have to see that again. So I suppose that would be a third option. But let's see. So wait and see what happens. The only one I can tell you all but certain is with a victory. With a victory, no, it is not going to Ferguson.